Imagine waking up one day to find out that you, along with everyone else in your age group, are now required to join the army. Sadly, this is a harsh reality for the youth in Myanmar. Today, we're exploring the world of conscripted armies, sparked by Myanmar's junta's recent mandate for all men and women aged 18 to 35 to serve in the military. We'll explore the details of this policy, its historical roots, and the global landscape of compulsory military service. Conscription, or mandatory military service, has a long and varied history across the globe, shaping nations and their citizens in many ways. From ancient times to modern-day policies, the practice has evolved, but the debate over its merits and drawbacks remains as controversial as ever. In this video, we'll look at history and try to understand why countries have turned to conscription and how it's impacted societies and individuals alike. Stick with us until the end to find out how the past and present of conscripted armies help us to understand the broader consequences of Myanmar's recent announcement. This policy is a complex issue involving concerns over human rights, national security, and the very essence of Myanmar's society. By exploring the history of conscripted armies, we'll see how Myanmar's controversial new mandate could shape the future of its citizens and, perhaps, change the course of its national history. Let's start by looking at the broader picture. Each country with mandatory conscription has its own unique set of reasons, reflecting its geopolitical situation, historical conflicts, and societal beliefs. In Russia, the call to arms is a rite of passage for all able-bodied men between the ages of 18 and 27. They're required to serve for 12 months. This policy is rooted in the vast expanse of the country and its rich history of conflicts. Russia's conscription is seen as a vital part of its national defense, ensuring that a large pool of the population is trained and ready to defend the country if the need arises. But beyond defense, this policy makes the concepts of duty and sacrifice part of the very identity of Russian men. Crossing continents, North Korea presents one of the strictest conscription policies in the world. Here, military service is more than just a duty. It's a decade-long commitment for men and a 7-year journey for women. This long period of service is designed to strengthen the country's military strength, but it also serves as a way to brainwash its citizens with the state's ideology. It creates an unbreakable bond between the individual and the collective identity of North Korea. South Korea's approach to conscription is fueled by the ever-present tension with its northern neighbor. All South Korean men are required to serve 21 months in the Army, Navy, or Air Force. This policy comes from the urgent need for readiness in the face of potential conflict. This system prepares the country for the possibility of aggression. It also creates a sense of unity and shared responsibility among its citizens. Singapore offers a unique perspective on conscription. It requires all men to serve for 2 years in the armed forces, which includes the Army, Navy, and Air Force, the Civil Defense Force, or the Police Force. This island nation sees conscription as a key tool for promoting national defense, social cohesion, and unity within its remarkably diverse population. Through service, Singaporeans from various backgrounds come together, creating a strong sense of national identity and collective purpose. Heading over to Europe, Sweden, Finland, and Norway show us how conscription has evolved to include both men and women in its ranks. Sweden reintroduced partial conscription for both genders in 2017 as part of a shift towards gender equality and the recognition of the valuable role women play in its national defense. After undergoing a rigorous selection process covering physical and psychological assessments, selected conscripts will serve for 9 to 12 months. Similarly, Finland requires a half-year service from both men and women, offering the option for military or civil service. This inclusive approach helps both nations to maintain a strong reserve force. It's also a statement on the importance of every citizen in the defense of their country. Norway has also charted a path that mixes conscription with the principles of gender equality. In 2015, Norway became the first NATO member to extend mandatory conscription to both men and women. It was a historic move that reflects its progressive stance on gender roles and equality. This decision was a deliberate effort to tap into the full potential of its population, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to contribute to the nation's defense. By integrating women into all aspects of military service, Norway is strengthening its armed forces. It's also challenging traditional stereotypes and creating a more inclusive society. Even though military service is mandatory, The strict recruitment criteria make it very difficult to be accepted, and the acceptance rate stands at roughly 17%. As such, this has turned military service in Norway into a prestigious assignment and is highly sought after. In Israel, the concept of military serves as a key part of the nation's fabric, born out of necessity and survival. Both men and women are called upon to serve for 3 years and women for 2, showing the country's commitment to security amid ongoing regional tensions. This policy is a rite of passage for Israeli youth, a shared experience that supports the values of citizenship, sacrifice, and collective responsibility. The inclusivity of this policy, allowing for some exceptions, acknowledges the diverse roles people can play in contributing to national security, from frontline positions to crucial support roles. In Israel, the obligation to serve is tied to the very survival of the nation, creating a powerful sense of identity and purpose among its citizens. Meanwhile, Norway's, Finland's, and Sweden's approach reflects a commitment to equality and inclusivity, viewing defense as a collective responsibility that all citizens, regardless of gender, share. But why do some countries have conscription? National defense is without a doubt the heart of conscription policies. This is particularly clear in countries in tense regions or those with historical rivalries. For instance, the ongoing tensions on the Korean peninsula require a strong defense posture for both North and South Korea, leading to their extensive conscription policies. Similarly, Israel's policy is rooted in its security needs, surrounded by an environment of geopolitical uncertainty. In these places, conscription ensures a continuous stream of personnel ready to defend the nation, creating a formidable opponent for potential enemies. There's also social cohesion. In diverse societies like Singapore, conscription acts as a melting pot, bringing together individuals from various backgrounds to share a common experience. This shared journey creates a sense of national identity and unity, breaking down social barriers and promoting a more cohesive society. It's a powerful tool for nation building and national solidarity, where military life teaches the values of teamwork and discipline. Economic considerations are also important. Professional armies are expensive to maintain, requiring significant investments in training, salaries, and benefits to attract volunteers. For smaller nations or those with limited resources, conscription presents a cost-effective solution to ensure a basic level of defense without straining national budgets. By mandating military service, countries can maintain a capable defense force at a fraction of the cost, using resources in other critical areas, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure development. Now, let's head back over to Southeast Asia to find out just what is happening in Myanmar. The country's junta has announced a new conscription policy that mandates military service for all men and women between the ages of 18 and 35. This move requires 3 years of service in an effort to strengthen the ranks of the military. Anyone who is eligible to join but doesn't could face jail time for up to 5 years. But why did they bring this law back? It's mostly due to ongoing internal conflict and external criticism. The nation has been involved in a complex web of ethnic tensions, civil unrest, and political upheaval for years. The military, known as the Tatmadaw, has been at the center of this turmoil, holding significant power and facing widespread accusations of human rights abuses. At the same time, the country is facing the aftermath of a military coup that ousted the democratically elected government, leading to widespread protests, economic instability, and a humanitarian crisis. The introduction of conscription is an attempt to solidify control and suppress dissent. It's a strategy to counteract the growing resistance against its rule, ensuring a steady supply of personnel to confront both internal and external threats. This has sent alarm bells ringing among human rights organizations and the international community. For the youth of Myanmar, this announcement means a sudden and dramatic change, forcing them to serve in an institution accused of committing violence against their own people. Families across the nation now face the anxiety of sending their sons and daughters to a military environment filled with ethical and moral dilemmas. Critics argue that conscription could make the already poor human rights situation in Myanmar even worse. There are fears that forced recruitment could lead to an increase in abuses, including the use of child soldiers, a practice for which the Myanmar military has been notorious in the past. Other people are questioning the effectiveness of this policy in achieving its stated goals. History has shown that conscripted forces often face issues with morale and effectiveness, particularly when the conscripts are serving against their will in very tense situations. Governments and human rights organizations around the world have called for restraint and dialogue, highlighting the need for a peaceful resolution to the country's challenges. Within Myanmar, the announcement has sparked a mix of fear, defiance, and resignation among the population, showing the clear divisions and the long road ahead in the quest for peace and stability. As we reflect on the tales of conscription around the world, it's clear that the practice is more than just a military move. It's a statement of national values, priorities, and the balance between individual and collective needs. The stories of conscripted armies are as diverse as the countries that use them, each highlighting the challenges of governance, the nature of conflict, and the dreams of people striving for a better future. It's a reminder of the sacrifices many are called to make, willingly or otherwise, in the service of their country and the ongoing struggle to balance the demands of national security with the rights and well-being of individual citizens.